Some punishments weren't meant to kill you. They were meant to keep you alive just long enough for the message to sink in. Across history, torture wasn't chaos or sadism for its own sake. It was engineered suffering, carefully designed to break bodies, terrify crowds, and turn fear into obedience. From ancient tyrants to crowded execution squares, pain became a language of power, spoken loudly so no one could claim they didn't understand. Number 9. The Brazen Bull. If torture devices had a most infamous mythos award, the Brazen Bull would be a finalist. Ancient sources describe a hollow bronze bull associated with the Sicilian tyrant Phalaris and an inventor named Perillus. The story says a person could be shut inside while fire heated the metal, turning the interior into a killing chamber with pipes or acoustic features meant to distort screams into something like an animal's bellow. 2 important notes. First, a lot of what people know here comes from later retellings. The device sits in that slippery zone where legend, propaganda, and moral storytelling can blend. Second, whether every flourish is historically precise or not, the idea became powerful because it captures something real about state violence. Cruelty, when theatrical, isn't just pain, it's messaging. Number 8. Scaphism. Few accounts are as sticky, literally and historically, as scaphism, sometimes called the boats. The most cited description comes from Plutarch, who attributes it to earlier sources while narrating a Persian context. The basic outline is that a victim was confined between 2 boat-like structures, exposed, and smeared or force-fed sweet substances such as milk and honey, with the intention of drawing insects and infection over time. But here's the scholarly caution label. The historicity of scaphism, as commonly told, is doubted by historians, partly because the chain of sources is complicated, and because ancient writers sometimes included sensational punishments to portray outsiders as especially barbaric. Even so, the broader pattern is well attested across many periods. Authorities have repeatedly used exposure, deprivation, and slow deterioration as punishment, not only because it hurts, but because it humiliates and isolates. Number 7. The rack. Unlike some lurid legends, the rack is straightforwardly documented as a torture instrument, a frame where wrists and ankles were bound and tension was increased by turning rollers, forcing joints out of place. Encyclopedia Britannica describes it as a bed-like open frame in which the turning of axles could dislocate major joints. What made the rack terrifying wasn't only the physical damage, it was the negotiation embedded in the mechanism. The operator could stop, pause, increase, decrease, turning suffering into a dial. That dial is psychologically devastating because it teaches the victim that relief depends entirely on someone else's mood, patience, or agenda. Number 6. Rat torture. Rat torture shows up in multiple historical contexts, and not always as the same method. One well-known documented case appears during the Dutch Revolt, involving an official named Diederik Sonoy, where a container with rats was placed against a prisoner and heated so the animals, trying to escape, injured the person. This is the kind of cruelty that lives at the intersection of pain and terror. The body isn't just harmed, it becomes a site of panic. Whether reported in early modern Europe or later in accounts from authoritarian regimes, the recurring theme is that fear of what's happening can be as destabilizing as the injury itself. Number 5. Bamboo torture. Bamboo torture is one of those historical stories that sounds so perfectly engineered for horror that it almost demands belief. Bamboo grows at astonishing speed, sometimes several inches a day, so the idea that it could be used as a natural impalement device feels disturbingly plausible. The problem is evidence. When historians examine primary sources, bamboo torture quickly slips into uncertain territory. Even accounts that describe it often acknowledge that there is no solid contemporary documentation proving it was ever systematically used as an execution method. That doesn't mean bamboo never played a role in cruelty or punishment. It means the specific narrative, victims tied over chutes that slowly pierce their bodies, has become famous because it is simple, visual, and terrifying. It spreads well. In other words, it's a story optimized for memory, not verification. Bamboo torture is a reminder that some of history's most enduring horrors survive not because they're well documented, but because they feel believable enough to repeat. Number 4. The Iron Maiden. The Iron Maiden may be the most recognizable torture device in the world, and one of the least historically reliable. The spiked, coffin-shaped enclosure has become shorthand for medieval cruelty. Yet modern historians overwhelmingly agree that it was not a standard medieval torture device. In fact, there are no credible references to its use during the Middle Ages at all. The Iron Maiden appears to emerge much later, particularly in the 18th and 19th centuries, when museums, collectors, and traveling exhibitions began assembling medieval torture chambers designed to shock and entertain. These displays often combined real devices with imagined ones, blurring education with spectacle. Over time, repetition turned invention into fact. Today, the Iron Maiden functions less as historical evidence and more as a cultural symbol, representing what people think the medieval world was like: dark, sadistic, and irrational. It tells us far more about modern fears and fascinations than about actual medieval justice. Number 3, the breaking wheel. Unlike many legendary torture devices, the breaking wheel is brutally real and thoroughly documented. Also known in some regions as the Catherine wheel, it was used across Europe as a method of execution well into the modern era. Victims were bound to a wheel or platform while executioners systematically shattered their bones using iron bars or hammers. In many cases, the person was kept alive for hours or even days afterward. What made the breaking wheel especially terrifying wasn't just the pain, it was the public nature of the punishment. The broken body was often displayed as a warning, transforming execution into civic theater. Law wasn't simply enforced, it was performed. Some regions only abolished the practice in the 19th century, with records noting executions by wheel as late as 1841 in Prussia. The breaking wheel exposes a central truth about historical punishment. Its purpose was not only to eliminate a criminal, but to educate the crowd through fear. Number 2, flaying. Flaying, removing the skin of a person as punishment, is among the most psychologically devastating practices recorded in human history. It appears in multiple ancient contexts, but it is most famously associated with the Neo-Assyrian Empire, where it was used explicitly as a tool of terror. Ancient Assyrian inscriptions and reliefs proudly depict enemies being flayed, impaled, or beheaded, not as hidden crimes, but as state-sponsored warnings. What makes flaying particularly disturbing is its purpose. It was not designed to extract information. It was not even primarily about execution. It was messaging. The exposed body became proof of absolute power, a declaration that resistance would not merely be punished, but erased in the most unforgettable way possible. Museum reliefs confirm this wasn't rumor or exaggeration. It was policy, carved in stone. In this context, cruelty wasn't excess. It was strategy. Number 1, Lingqi. Lingqi, often translated as slow slicing and popularly called death by 1,000 cuts, was used in China for centuries for crimes considered especially severe, including treason, and it was officially banned in 1905. Modern scholarship also stresses that Western popular portrayals were often sensationalized and misunderstood, sometimes turning complex legal and cultural realities into a single horror postcard. The key point is not lurid detail. The key point is that execution systems can be built not only to end life, but to stage deterrence, to make fear feel rational. These punishments weren't just about pain, they were about power, fear, and control. History didn't hide them, it put them on display. And understanding that tells us more about human nature than any battlefield ever could. If this shocked you, challenged you, or made you see history differently, like and subscribe for more deep dives into the darkest corners of the past.